I never thought I would see my own face, burning in hell. I wasn't looking at a dream, or a shadow, or some symbolic vision. I was staring at me. My eyes were wide open in terror, my mouth frozen in a scream I couldn't hear, but could somehow feel in my bones. The skin on my face blistered and cracked in the heat. Yet it wasn't melting away, it was enduring the fire, as if the torment was designed to last forever. And then the angel beside me whispered words that shook my soul. "This is where your choices were leading you, before mercy intervened." At that moment, I couldn't breathe. I wanted to wake up, to run, to hide, but there was no waking up. There was no escape. I was in hell, and somehow, my own soul was staring back at me from the flames. Before I share what happened, and why this experience changed everything about my life, I want to pause and thank this incredible community. To everyone who has been watching, sharing and supporting these testimonies, you have no idea how much it means. Every view, every comment, every time you pray for someone after hearing their story, you are part of a chain reaction that could save a soul. If you're new here, welcome. What you're about to hear is not entertainment. It's a warning wrapped in a real experience that shook me to the core. I pray that as you listen, you don't just hear my story, but that you hear the urgency of heaven calling you. Now, let me take you back to the day it all began. A day that started ordinary, but ended with me staring at the most terrifying sight I have ever seen, myself in hell. My name is Grace, and if you had met me a few years ago, you might have called me a good Christian woman. I grew up in a home where church wasn't just Sunday routine, it was a family rule. My parents sang in the choir, my grandmother led the women's fellowship, and I learned to memorize Bible verses before I could even write my own name. By all appearances, I was the kind of girl parents were proud to raise, respectful, well-spoken, and always smiling in public. But inside, I was a master at hiding. I could quote scripture, but my heart was far from God. Faith was more like a family heritage than a personal conviction. I believed in God the way you believe in the sun on a cloudy day. You know it's there, but you don't feel its warmth. As I grew older, life slowly shaped me into a lukewarm Christian. I still went to church, but my relationship with God was surface deep. I prayed out of habit, sang the worship songs without thinking about the words, and kept my Bible closed most days. Deep down I told myself, God understands. I'm not perfect, but who is? The truth? God did know my heart, and that was the very problem. I carried my own wounds too. My teenage years were full of hidden battles. My father's temper could change a room in seconds, and I learned early on to keep my feelings to myself. My mother tried to shield me, but her silence often felt like abandonment. I grew into a woman who wore confidence on the outside, but avoided vulnerability at all costs. Even in prayer, I kept my words short, afraid that if I poured my heart out, heaven would answer me with silence. By my late 20s, I had mastered the art of blending in. I dressed well, had a stable job, and kept up an Instagram full of bright smiles and coffee shop selfies. But late at night, when the makeup was off and the phone was down, I stared at the ceiling, and felt an ache I couldn't explain. I wasn't living in open rebellion, but I also wasn't surrendered. I nursed grudges, entertained bitterness, judged others in my heart, and held on to sins I thought were small enough to ignore. Hell in my mind was for the truly evil, the unrepentant murderers, the devil worshippers, the people in the news who did unthinkable things. Certainly not someone like me. I thought, I love God in my own way. He knows that. He wouldn't send me there. One Sunday, I sat in church listening to a sermon about the rich man and Lazarus from Luke 16:19-31. The pastor described the rich man's agony in hell, the thirst, the regret, the hopelessness. I remember thinking, that's too harsh. God is loving. He wouldn't do that forever. But I see it clearly now. I was walking toward hell wearing a Sunday dress and carrying a Bible. I fooled everyone, even myself, into believing I was safe. But the truth, I was drifting toward a place I didn't even believe I could go. It was April 7th, 2021, a Wednesday. A normal workday, nothing unusual. But by nightfall, I would leave my body and come face to face with a reality that would haunt me forever. It was April 7th, 2021. I remember because it started out so ordinary. Work was stressful, but nothing unusual. I came home, reheated leftovers, and scrolled through my phone while the TV played in the background. By 10 p.m., I felt a strange tightness in my chest. I brushed it off, thinking it was indigestion, but the tightness grew. It was as if invisible hands were pressing against my ribs, making it hard to breathe. I stood up to get water, but my vision blurred, the room tilting as if the floor had dropped. My heart raced so violently it felt like my whole body was pulsing. God, what's happening? I whispered, clutching the counter. The next thing I knew, my legs buckled. My body hit the floor, but the pain was distant, almost muted. My ears filled with a deep, low hum, like the sound of a giant engine. Then, silence. That's when I realized I could see my own body lying on the floor. My hair spread out like a dark fan against the tiles, my chest rising and falling slower and slower. I should have been terrified, but an eerie numbness settled over me. I wasn't in my body anymore. Then it started. At first, I felt a gentle pull, like a current carrying me away, but it changed quickly. The pull became a drag, forceful and unrelenting, yanking me into a darkness so thick, I could no longer see my apartment. My hands clawed at the air, but there was nothing to grab. I began to hear voices, not clear words at first, but distant screams, wailing that grew louder the deeper I went. There was a smell too, sharp and choking, like sulfur mixed with rotting flesh. The air was hot, but not like sunlight. It was heavy, burning from the inside out. The darkness wasn't empty. Shapes moved within it. Some rushed past me like shadows fleeing light, but others lingered, whispering. Their voices were oily, crawling into my mind. You're ours now. You don't belong to him. I tried to pray, but my mind felt clouded, sluggish. All I could get out was, Jesus. The ground appeared beneath me suddenly. Not soft, not solid, but jagged and black, stretching out like a wasteland. Flames erupted in bursts from cracks in the ground, revealing glimpses of twisted figures writhing in agony. Their eyes were hollow, yet their mouths screamed with a sound that seemed to tear through the air. A wind, hot and violent, pushed me forward. I stumbled, my bare feet searing against the ground. I wanted to wake up, to escape, but deep inside I knew this was no dream. And then, I saw her. In the distance, through the haze of smoke and fire, a figure stood apart from the others, burning but not consumed. As I drew closer, my breath caught in my throat, my knees weakened, my hands shook. It was me, my own face, twisted in terror, staring at me with eyes that begged for help I couldn't give. The sight hit me like a physical blow. My heart, if I even had one here, felt like it was shattering into pieces. Then a voice, strong and unearthly, spoke from beside me. Grace, this is where your path was leading you. I turned, and there stood an angel. His presence both fierce and radiant, cutting through the darkness like a blade. The angel's voice was deep, resonant. The kind that didn't just echo in your ears, but seemed to vibrate inside your very being. His eyes burned, not with anger, but with a kind of sorrow I had never seen before. I tore my gaze away from him, and looked again at the figure in front of me. Me, burning, screaming, yet still alive in this place where death never came. Her skin blistered and split under the flames, but it didn't fall away. Every nerve seemed to be on fire, yet there was no release. This can't be real, I whispered. Though my voice trembled so violently, the words were barely audible. The angel gestured toward her, toward me. It is more real than the life you lived, he said. Here, nothing is hidden. Here, your choices are revealed in their truest end. I wanted to look away, but something in this place wouldn't let me. My other self, the damned version of me, was chained to a jagged pillar, the links glowing red from the heat. The ground around her cracked open, releasing plumes of sulfuric smoke that made my lungs ache. My mouth opened in a scream I couldn't hear with my ears, but could feel deep inside my bones, as if the agony was transmitting straight into my soul. Then I saw movement in the flames. Shapes began to emerge, faces I recognized. Not strangers, but people from my life, a friend I'd stopped talking to after a bitter argument, a cousin who'd once tried to talk to me about forgiveness, but I'd brushed off, even a coworker I had silently judged as too far gone. They were here, and their eyes locked on mine with a mixture of rage and despair. I stumbled backward, pressing against the angel's side. Why are they looking at me like that? The angel's voice was steady but heavy. Because you were the one who had the truth, but did not live it. You carried his name, but not his heart. Your silence, your pride, your secret sins, They spoke louder than any testimony. My stomach twisted. The weight of his words sank like a stone into me. My mind raced with memories, all the times I'd been too busy, too self-conscious, too indifferent to show real love, to share the gospel, to forgive. I had told myself I was working on my own walk when in reality, I was standing still and watching others sink without reaching for them. The angel pointed toward my burning self again. This is not where you are yet, but it is where the road you walked would have ended. The wages of sin is death, Romans 6:23. I couldn't stop the tears. I didn't think I was bad enough for this place. He turned, his gaze piercing mine. Hell is not full of those the world calls evil. It is full of those who rejected the fullness of God's mercy, whether in rebellion or in complacency. A roar sounded in the distance, and I realized the flames were moving, as if the ground itself were alive. The screams rose in pitch, twisting into something that felt like they were clawing at my sanity. The angel took hold of my arm. His grip was strong but not painful. You must see, and then you must tell them. Before I could ask what he meant, the ground beneath us split wide open, revealing a deeper chasm of darkness and fire. The pull started again, and I knew we were going deeper. The ground tore open beneath us with a sound that wasn't just noise. It was a vibration that rattled my entire being. Like the very bones of the earth were screaming. The heat rushed upward in a wave so fierce, it felt like my spirit could blister. The angel did not flinch. His hand was firm on my arm, holding me steady as the pull dragged us down into the chasm. We plunged into a darkness so thick it seemed alive, moving, shifting, pressing against me like 1,000 unseen hands. It was colder here, but not the kind of cold that refreshes. It was a dead cold, the kind that sucks the warmth out of you and leaves nothing but emptiness. Then, faint at first, came the sound. Screams, but not like before. These were deeper, more guttural, soaked with despair so thick it made my heart ache. I could hear words in some of them, broken cries of why, and please, and it's too late. They echoed endlessly, never answered. The angel's voice broke through the noise. This is where those who mocked his mercy are kept. They knew the truth, yet trampled it. They had time, and spent it on themselves. We landed, or maybe just stopped falling, on ground that wasn't really ground at all. It was like walking on cracked glass over a pit of fire. Shapes writhed beneath the surface, their hands clawing upward, their mouths opening in silent agony whenever they touched the barrier that kept them trapped below. I saw one face press up against the surface, a woman, her eyes wild, her mouth forming my name. Grace, she mouthed, her expression twisted with both anger and desperation. My knees went weak. I knew her. She had been in my women's fellowship years ago. I had stopped calling her when she'd begun to struggle with drinking, thinking it wasn't my place to get involved. I turned to the angel. Why is she? I didn't put her here. His eyes held mine, and his voice cut like a blade. No, but you withheld what could have helped her escape it. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but the truth pressed against me like the heat, inescapable. I had known she was slipping away. I had chosen comfort over compassion. Then the angel pointed ahead. In the distance, a throne made of black stone rose from the ground, surrounded by fire. Upon it sat a figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing like coals. The atmosphere changed, heavier, darker. Every instinct in me screamed to turn away. That, the angel said, his voice low, is the one who desired your soul. The figure didn't move, but I could feel its awareness sweeping over me like icy water. It smiled, a slow, knowing smile, as if to say, I almost had you. My stomach twisted. I couldn't look at it without feeling like something inside me was being drained. Then, above the roar of the flames, a different voice came. It was neither the angels nor the creatures. It was everywhere, deep and commanding, yet heavy with grief. Grace, this is not yet your place, but if you do not turn, it will be. The voice hit me with such force that I staggered backward. Tears blurred my vision. Lord, please, don't let me stay here. The angel gripped my arm tighter. Your plea has been heard, but when you return, you must remember every moment. You must tell them. Without warning, the darkness shattered into light, blinding, pure, unstoppable. The light swallowed the darkness in an instant, flooding every crack and shadow. It wasn't the kind of light that simply illuminated. It burned, not with pain, but with truth. Every lie I'd believed about myself, every excuse I'd used to justify my sin, crumbled under its radiance. I fell to my knees, covering my face. The heat of hell was gone, replaced by a warmth that penetrated to the deepest parts of me. My breathing slowed, and for the first time since I'd left my body, I felt safe. The angel stepped in front of me, now brighter than before, clothed in robes that shimmered like molten gold. His eyes searched mine, not with judgment, but with urgency. "Grace," he said. "You have been spared, not because you deserved it, but because mercy has been extended to you. Go back, warn them, tell them that hell is real, and that eternity is only one breath away." I wanted to speak, but all that came out was a whisper. "Why me?" "Because you still have time," he said, his voice steady. "Others you saw there do not. Every day you live is another chance to turn fully to him, and to lead others to the same grace you have now tasted." The light grew so bright it felt like it was lifting me. The sounds of hell faded, replaced by something faint but unmistakable, the sound of many voices singing. Then, with a sudden jolt, I was back in my body. My chest heaved, my skin damp with sweat, my cheeks wet with tears. The clock read 3:17 a.m. I was alive, but forever changed. I had seen many tormented souls in that place, but nothing prepared me for what I heard next. It was not just a scream. It was a cry so deep, so desperate, that it seemed to ripple through the fire itself. I froze, every hair on my body stood on end. I turned toward the sound, and saw her, a woman, kneeling in the flames, clutching her face with charred hands. Her skin peeled away, revealing raw, burning flesh beneath. She wasn't just screaming from pain, she was weeping as though her very soul was being torn apart. Through the heat, I could make out her words. "Please, I didn't know. Please. One more chance." The way she cried was not the cry of someone angry at being punished. It was the cry of someone who finally understood, too late, the weight of every choice she had made. A demon stood over her, his claws pressing into her shoulders like branding irons. He laughed, tilting her face toward me, as if to make sure I could see her agony. She sat in church every Sunday, he snarled, but her heart was far from God. She gossiped, she judged, she refused to forgive, yet thought she was safe. The woman's eyes met mine for a brief, searing moment. In them, I saw terror, but also a pleading, as though she thought I could help her. My spirit trembled. I wanted to run to her, to pull her from that pit of fire. But I knew, there was nothing I could do. Her cry rose again, echoing through hell's suffocating air. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. Hell is not only fire, it is the eternal sound of regret. As we walked away from the valley, the angel stopped and turned to me. "You have seen others, now look." Before me appeared a mirror of fire, and in it I saw moments of my own life, my selfish words, my quiet bitterness, my hidden pride. Every excuse I'd ever made melted in the heat of truth. The realization crushed me. I was no better than those I pitied. My tears burned as they fell, because I knew if not for God's mercy, I too would remain here forever. Suddenly, the darkness began to fade, replaced by the sound of my own heartbeat. I was back, alive, but forever changed. The angel's final words echoed in my spirit. "Tell them, hell is real, and time is short." I knew my return wasn't for comfort, but for a mission. My lips trembled as I whispered, "I will." Now I carry this fire in my bones, warning anyone who will listen, because once you've seen hell, you can never unsee it, and you'll never stop pleading with souls to choose Christ before it's too late.